Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the second video in our series, Echo Matchups Breakdown. Of course, we're playing Echo in the mid lane, and today we're diving into one of Echo's most challenging matchups, Echo versus Ryze. I'll walk you through the early game step by step, breaking down everything you need to know to turn this matchup in your favor. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to outplay Ryze and carry your games. For reference, I'm currently playing in Silver Elo, but these principles work regardless of your rank. So let's get started. In most of my games, I like to position myself in the side bush at level 1, especially if the enemy team doesn't have any scary level 1 champions who could invade our jungle. From here, I always look to place a ward at the enemy's raptors no matter which side we're on, and this ward becomes incredibly valuable later on. In this game, I managed to get the ward down at around 120. Now onto the laning phase, we're facing a classic Echo vs Ryze matchup. If you've played Echo before, you know Ryze's early game is solid, so let's establish our game plan. Like most mid lane matchups, Ryze has a range advantage, allowing him to poke you from a distance. He's also running phase rush, giving him excellent kiting potential and the ability to avoid Echo's key skill shots, especially Q and R. The good news is that Ryze's damage is heavily reliant on his mana pool. If you manage to poke or burst him down early, he can quickly run out of mana, leaving him vulnerable. It's also worth noting that Ryze is a scaling champion. Once he completes his core items, especially those with mana scaling, his damage becomes substantial. Phase Rush helps him survive Echo's burst in the early and mid game, so the key is to find a window to trade with him, even if that costs you some minions. Echo's early game revolves around his burst potential with his EQ combo. So here's the general game plan for this matchup. You'll likely find yourself in one of two scenarios. Scenario 1, Ryze plays aggressively and starts to harass you with his range. If this happens, focus on playing safe, keep the wave in the middle or closer to your tower. Once Ryze gets level 2, back off and wait to hit your own level 2. Then look to trade when Ryze moves in to last hit minions or uses his abilities to hard push the wave. Scenario 2, Ryze plays passively. If Ryze is playing safe, contest level 2. Push the wave slightly and aim to hit both the minions and Ryze with your Q to maximize its value. Don't forget to position yourself to the side of the wave so Ryze can get the same value with his abilities. Once you have the push advantage, repeat this process to hit level 2 first. At that point, you can level up your E and go all in. If Ryze stays safe, it's fine. Just save your Q, hit level 2 and trade with him when he farms. Use Halo Blades to quickly proc your passive, then disengage before he can trade back effectively. If you've followed these steps and still haven't secured the kill, don't worry. As Echo, your job is to hard push waves and look for roams. Ryze will outscale you eventually, so your goal is to impact other lanes before that happens. Now let's talk about runes. In my opinion, there is no reason to run anything other than Halo Blades. It's the best rune for Echo, especially now that the bug affecting it has been fixed. Electrocute was a good alternative during the bug, but Halo Blades is far superior for 90% of matchups. In this game, we were up against a passive Ryze player, so according to the plan, we're in scenario 2. I started by contesting the level 2 advantage, hitting both the wave and Ryze with my Q for double value. My main focus was maintaining a good wave state to set up an all-in at level 2. I repeated the process, carefully managing my Q usage to avoid hard pushing the wave. At this point, Ryze was already low and I almost didn't need to make a video about it. However, I made a mistake chasing him, which allowed him to land a nice phase rush trade. Despite that, I hit level 2 of the melee minion and immediately looked for an all-in. Honestly, it wasn't even a close fight. After securing the kill, I had the option to recall and TP back to lane, but since Ryze had already used his TP, I decided to stay and trade my HP for his, and this put him in a bad position. Thanks to my ward, I saw the enemy jungler at their raptors, so I let the wave slow push towards me to stay safe. Despite this, I randomly decided to poke Ryze just for fun, knowing I had flash if needed. Maybe the Jax decides to skip raptors or whatsoever, but in the end, it worked out and I managed to secure a chunk of his HP while remaining relatively safe. I made Ryze use his resources and now he has no TP, so now I should stop trolling and focus on pushing this wave so I can get my recall window. Then we should TP back to catch the next wave. For the first recall I had 1k gold, so I bought refillable potions, boots and a dark seal. Returning to lane, I noticed Ryze had more minions on his side. My jungler hovered for a gank, but Ryze smartly positioned away from us, so we didn't get much out of it. However, his wave state was bad, forcing him to stay in lane. That's why you should always play around wave states. Notice how I was confident about my last fight with him? That's because I knew at the end of the day, his wave is destroying mine, so I won't lose anything. From there, I maintained lane control, trimming the wave to prevent it from rushing into my tower. When Ryze got close, I capitalized on his poor positioning, securing another kill and set up the wave for my next recall. At this point I could freeze the wave, but this will give Ryze prio to leave lane and that's not what I want. Instead, what I'm aiming for is always hard push and look for something else in the map. I waited for the next wave to come in so I can push all minions at once with my Q, then take the recall. My next item purchase is going to be Nature's Tooth, followed by Lishbane for my core power spike. At this point, the lane was firmly under my control. I landed a clean W stun on Ryze, who didn't react in time. He could have flashed out, but seemed to be saving it for the next game. Despite his low HP, he stayed in lane to farm and I punished him for it. With the lane fully in my favor, I started looking to roam. Instead of going for turret plates, I pushed the wave and rotated bot where I saw an opportunity to impact the game. Now here's a tip for roaming. Always ensure it's worth it. Push the wave, walk into the river, and if you feel like the roam won't work, simply return to lane, and this mentality will prevent you from throwing your lead. In this case, Smolder burned both summoners but still died, which made the roam worthwhile. I overstayed slightly for mid lane farm, which is not that needed. You can always look to recall after a roam, since most of the times you won't make it to the mid lane wave. From here, it was rinse and repeat, push Ryze out of lane, clear the wave, and roam to apply pressure elsewhere. That's it for today's matchup breakdown. I hope this video helps you dominate your Echo versus Ryze lanes. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one.